Cases or padeži, or the one topic in Serbian language that many people think must not be named. This is a topic that many students hate, even more don't understand, but for some reason Serbian teachers adore it.
This is Serbian in 5 minutes. Short, simple lessons where you learn real Serbian, the language people use in everyday life, shaped by culture and real moments.
True story. Once I told a group of students, next lesson we are starting Serbian cases. And you know what happened? They all came to the lesson with a glass of Rakija. Mistake, because we have 7 cases and 1 glass of Rakija is definitely not enough. How do we start the explanation of cases? Well, most commonly, like this. Of course, I'm joking a bit, but as we say, u svakoj šali ima pola istine. In every joke, half of it is usually true. So let's actually see how it really works. It's not that difficult. Nije toliko teško. What are the cases actually? Let's start from that question. Šta su padeži? Cases actually show the relation between words in a sentence. In Serbian, you keep seeing similar looking words with slightly different endings. And of course, you might think, are all these different words? No, they are not. It is often just one word changing its endings, its form, depending on the meaning. If I have to make it simple, I would say, let's imagine a theater and an actor or an actress, of course. One person, one actor can play many different roles, right? Depending on the show, on the play. So that's exactly the same thing that happens with Serbian words. Serbian words change costumes or clothes in order to play different roles in a sentence. Maybe that's the best easy explanation of how Serbian sentences and cases work. And how to know which case exactly to use? Well, we have magical helpers in a sentence, verbs and prepositions most commonly, that actually tell you which case you need to use and tell you which meaning is important in the sentence in that very moment. Why cases feel so chaotic? Well, if English is your only language, then I have a bad news for you because English doesn't have cases. And that's why it makes it so difficult to understand the whole concept. However, English does have tiny traces of cases. Remember this example. You can say, I am buying a book, for example. But then you say, you bought a book to me, right? You don't say, you bought a book to I. So I, a pronoun, changed to me. And that is the most similar thing to Serbian cases that you have. The same like in Serbian. The form changes because the meaning is changed. That's how it works in Serbian as well. And what is the main difference? Well, the fact that in Serbian we change nouns, pronouns, adjectives, and some numbers. While in English, you only change pronouns from time to time, just a few of them. In Serbian, we have 7 cases. 7 padeža. Nominativ, genitiv, dativ, akuzativ, vokativ, instrumental, lokativ. Do you need to memorize all the names immediately? No, not immediately, not ever, because honestly, even people from Serbia, native speakers, don't know all the names of the cases, at least not after they finish school. So no worries, no need to know their names, because it's important only to know how to use them. but knowing their names and the origin of their names might help you a bit. Let's see. Nominative comes from the Latin word nomen, which means name. And we use it to name things, objects, everything. Genitive comes from the Latin word genus, which means breed, type, sort, origin. We mainly use it to show origin of something or someone. Dative comes from the verb dare, to give, right? And one of the main verbs that we use with dative in Serbian is dati, which means to give. So pretty similar. Akuzativ, many people connect with akuzare, which means to accuse. But in fact, what happened was misinterpretation. It happens sometimes. So this Latin verb is not exactly what accusative shows today. We should go back to Greek stem and remember that it meant cause of something. So it is person or thing affected by the cause of some action, by the cause of the main verb. So today it actually means it shows a direct object of a sentence. Vokativ from vocare, to call, and we do use it to call somebody or something. Instrumental comes from the Latin word instrumentum, which means an instrument, right? Like today again in English. So we use it to say that we use something as an instrument for something else. For example, I would say idem autom na posao. I go by car to work. Car is an instrument that I'm using to go to work. Instrumental. Lokativ comes from locus, which means place. And again, we do use it to show place of something, a place of an action. Now, maybe the most important part. You already know some Serbian cases. You're just not aware of that. You definitely do know some Serbian phrases, but you haven't thought much about that, how it works, why the words change. Today we'll go through 7 different cases and a few phrases that you certainly know and explain cases through them. I hope it will actually make learning easier. Nominative. Every dictionary you open shows the word in nominative case. That's the basic form of the word. And this form is extremely important, and that's why we recommend learning all the words in nominative case. So when you learn it in nominative case, you instantly then know which word is which gender, which is extremely important later when you need to change them through the cases. Remember that drinks rule. So we have taj, chai. Chai ends with a consonant. Any word that ends with a consonant is masculine. Ta kafa, kafa. Any word that ends with a is feminine gender. And to pivo, that beer. Any word that ends with o or e is neutral. You might think it's not super important, but in fact it is. Gender tells you a lot, and different genders have different endings. So always memorize words in nominative case, thinking about the gender. Genitive, you probably know the question, odakle si? Where are you from? And you know that odakle we always connect with is, from. When you see the preposition is, you know you need to use genitive. Let me give you an example. Ja sam iz Srbije. Ja sam iz Beograda. What did I do here? So you know that the first form is Srbija, and the first form of Belgrade is Beograd. What happened? Ja sam iz Srbije, ja sam iz Beograda. Consonant endings get what? A. And feminine endings get E. This is genitive. Try your country and your city. Ja sam iz Italije. Italija, Italije. Ja sam iz Rima. Rim, Rima. Dativ. Well, we Serbs are known for being direct. And again, you most probably heard these phrases. Daj mi or dajte mi, give me. And kaži mi or kažite mi, tell me. So this small me is actually ja, I, in dative case. Pronouns have their own change, but just be aware of that. Daj mi, kaži mi, dative case. Akuzativ. The most beautiful phrase in every language, in Serbian as well, belongs to akuzativ. How do we say I love you? We say volim te. And this te is actually ti, you, in akuzativ. Again, this is a pronoun. They have their own change, but never mind. Just remember, volim te is akuzativ. Nouns change too. So we would say volim Srbiju, volim Beograd, volim muža. I like Serbia, I love Belgrade, I love husband. The first form for all of this is Srbija, Beograd, and muž. And we got Srbiju, Beograd, muža. Sometimes the endings change, sometimes they don't. But here it actually depends on a few things. First, if it is feminine gender, the ending always changes. It always goes to U. Srbija, Srbiju. I can say volim pizzu, I like pizza. Pizza, pizzu. But for the masculine gender, if it is a person, then it does change. It goes to A. Muž, muža, husband. If it is not a person, nothing happens. No change. Easy rule, let's say. Vokativ. You probably know someone named Milica or Stefan, the most common Serbian names. And how do we call them? Have you heard? We actually say Milice and Stefane. Milica goes to Milice. Stefan goes to Stefane. So yes, names do change in Serbian, not all of them, but many of them. Usually you need to know the specific name to know whether it will change or not. And maybe just double check. Instrumental. You probably heard kafa sa šećerom, kafa sa mlekom, coffee with sugar, coffee with milk. Or you can say ja sam sa sestrom, I'm with my sister. So this or n ending means it's instrumental. You can just memorize it like that. Lokativ. Again, you most probably heard u kafiću sam, u restoranu sam, u kafani sam, u busu sam. So we do change nouns again if you want to say the exact location where you are. I'm emphasizing where you are because here it is important whether you're going there, you're on your way there, or you are at that location already. We will talk about that more, but just to give you a hint what is also important here. As you can see, we are slowly starting this series about Serbian cases, but at this very beginning, in the first video, I just want to give you maybe 3 most important advice. Don't try to memorize everything at once. This is probably the biggest mistake. Many students see 7 cases, dozens of endings, singular, plural, and they just try to memorize it all in a few days. It doesn't work like that. Go step by step, case by case, even gender by gender, noun by noun. Do it really, really slowly so you actually get into this system a bit at first. Don't over-explain it. Use it. You can spend 4 hours trying to understand how one case works. Or you can actually repeat it 20 times or naturally use it 20 times in a conversation. And of course, you will understand it and memorize it much better. Sometimes your brain simply needs exposure. So listen, repeat, make a mistake, correct yourself. Listen again, repeat again, make another mistake, who cares? At the end, you're gonna get it, believe me. And maybe the real secret lies in this. Pay attention not only to that one word that you want to change through cases, but to the entire sentence, to all the words that are in front of the word, after the word. Because prepositions, for example, and verbs are real clues for you. They will tell you, they will require which case comes after them. They have requirements for that. So you know instantly, many, many times, if you see one verb, it always requires a certain case. If you see one preposition, it always goes with a certain case. Don't memorize, don't look at only one word, look at the system that you have in front of you. Just one question for you for the end of this video. Which case you find the scariest and which case you find the easiest? Write me in the comments. Pišite mi u komentarima. Thank you so much and see you soon. Hvala puno I vidimo se uskoro.